Well, the State Department is now reportedly considering filing charges not against those who were accused of criminal misconduct or alleged prostitution, but against a self-described whistleblower who called the nation's attention to the fact that she says there's been a cover-up at State of this behavior. This whistleblower says higher-ups at State may have blocked investigations into suspected criminal activity by U.S. diplomatic personnel overseas. And now State's response appears to be, well, we may have to file suit against the whistleblower. Joining me now, Joseph Schmitz. He's the former head of the Pentagon's Office of Inspector General. He's also the author of the Inspector General Handbook. And this woman who's now facing possible charges from the State Department is herself part of the Inspector General's department office over at State. And her name is Aurelia Fidenizin. I think I've got the pronunciation right. She's somebody, just so our viewers can, because it gets kind of confusing, doesn't it, Joseph? It's like, so she worked for the Inspector General within State. They start to investigate an internal State investigation into wrongdoing, alleged wrongdoing. So State has this other security office that starts looking into were the security agents using prostitutes? Was there some ambassador who was frequenting prostitutes or possibly underage prostitutes? They start investigating. Those internal guys say, you know what, higher-ups quashed our investigation. They interfered. So now the Inspector General, the agency you were involved in at the Pentagon, steps in and says, we're going to look into this. And Aurelia concludes they were right. They were quashed. Higher-ups of State tried to shut them up. So she leaks this information to Senator Ted Cruz and another lawmaker on Capitol Hill and, I guess, to CBS News. And now State's going to go after her, reportedly, because they're ticked off that she let the cat out of the bag. Your thoughts?
Well, there are statutes that prohibit any kind of reprisal against a whistleblower, and the whistleblower protection kicks in after an employee, like this particular former Inspector General investigator, makes a protected communication, and that is defined typically as to a member of Congress, to an Inspector General, to the chain of command, but it doesn't include to the press. Well, they say it has to be first to a member of Congress. So apparently the timing is important. Did she go to CBS News first? Yes. Did she go to the lawmaker's office first? But that, with all due respect to you and the job that you held, in my experience in covering Inspector General investigations in Capitol Hill, the Inspector General, they're usually very dry. They're usually very by the book, cross the T's, dot the I's. They don't want controversy. They're not the ones who find themselves under the microscope. They're trying to unearth for us what actually did happen, and they try to do it in an independent voice so we can believe their ultimate report. So it's so strange to see a woman step out of that at State and say, I am telling you I need whistleblower protection because what I found them doing at State is so bad that the nation must know. Well, that's right, and you're absolutely right, Megan. A Inspector General is fundamentally a fact finder. Inspectors General are not prosecutors. They don't really care if they have to prosecute whatever they find. But when an Inspector General says what an Inspector General says in a report or in testimony, the audience for that Inspector General, which is typically Congress and the agency heads, they need to be able to take those facts to the bank. They need to have 100% confidence that the Inspector General is calling it as he or she sees it, and those are the facts. And what this particular whistleblower is blowing the whistle on, and it seems first legitimately blowing the whistle to members of Congress, is that somebody in the State Department higher-ups attempted, and apparently did, although I haven't seen the final Inspector General report, the allegation is that for political reasons, people told the Inspector General to keep certain details out of the Inspector General report.
They scrubbed it.
Yes,
and
that's exactly right.
She's got the draft OIG report from December 2012, the draft, that uses language that was scrubbed from the final document. And that's what I understand. The language that was scrubbed, it says the OIG team, Inspector General team, heard of instances where high-level department officials may have once or twice a year brought pressure to bear to improperly halt or influence investigations, including into serious criminal misconduct. I mean, she says that higher-ups at the State Department, while Hillary Clinton was in charge, were interfering with the Inspector General's investigation to the point where they were trying to scrub it of anything that would reflect negatively on the State Department. And now the chairman of a key House committee is very upset about this, demanding that the State Department's Inspector General office produce all the documents and that we need to have a full airing about A, what was the alleged misconduct and was it true? B, who investigated? C, who tried to stifle the investigations? I'll leave it to you to tell us how important that is with respect to the, again, we're back to the trust issue. American people and their trust in their government agencies and the watchdogs who we employ to watch them.
Well, that's exactly right. And ultimately, the Inspector General serves the American taxpayers to be that watchdog, that independent and objective watchdog to help the American people understand how our federal government is spending our tax dollars. That's the role of an IG. And at state, it's even worse, Megan, because state has not had a Senate-confirmed Inspector General for over 5 years.
Wow. And now if they, instead of going after the alleged criminal misconduct that's been alleged in this case, decide to go after Aurelia Fidenizin, the Inspector General office employee, for trying to blow the whistle on them, I mean, as one reporter put it today, that is an ugly new twist to the scandal. Joseph, thank you.
Classic shoot the dog.
Which is sad. Thank you, sir.
Classic shoot the dog.